Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of Kiss My Wax Remastered, part of the Kiss My Collectibles Network. I am one of your co-hosts, Jason Herndon, and with me, as always, is...
Here since the beginning, Andrew Scambatti.
Day one, my friend.
Day one.
Here since the beginning of Remastered, Joe Lalich.
That's nice to know. Yeah. In fact, this might have been a little of Joe's idea. We've kind of talked about doing these again because, you know, we're 3.5 years into this podcast, and it started with Kiss My Wax. The idea was Andrew's to do this podcast a long time ago when I started the Kiss My Wax group, and you know we decided to do these podcasts and talk about these records. Our collections have grown, our knowledge has grown, and you know we're not going to try to replicate the original episodes of Kiss My Wax. We're just going to talk about new things that have come out. We're going to talk about this record, the history of this record, some of the stuff we have in our collections. We're going to open the floor up for the viewers to post their recollections and their variations, all sorts of things. We just wanted to revisit all of the albums again, and this is going to be a feature for the foreseeable future. We're going to try to cover each record in the catalog again. So Kiss My Wax Remastered. What do you guys think?
So basically what you're saying is, so Jason, got a big stack of records there, been working the collection there for 3 years now, got a lot of promotional copies, got a lot of posters there, Jason?
That's right. So, but before we get started, we're also not going to show any new stuff. This is,
unless it's vinyl. Unless it's
vinyl.
Related
different
to the album
format
that we're talking about.
Correct. Different format than the Kiss My Collectibles episodes. So we're just going to jump right into the album. But before we do that, I want to give a shout out to a couple of things here. It looks. Let's see. How does I want to say thank you to Walter Ruther, I think is how you say his name. Walter donated some money to us today through the website. Yeah. We've got a donate button on kissmycollectibles.com, and he just said, man, I know it costs a lot of money to put these shows out and do these things. No, it doesn't cost us any money on YouTube, but we do have website fees, and we do have, all sorts of...
You have to pay my appearance fee.
I have to pay Andrew's appearance fee.
Yeah. Which is $8. $8. So,
yeah. And, get adjusted for inflation.
But iTunes costs money and all that stuff, and we've got a lot of things that cost money. So anything that you guys can throw our way to help support the podcast is wonderful. Walter sent us a donation,
including your Kiss stuff. You could send us some of that. That also helps further the show.
But so I want to start shouting out the people that have been donating. We have our Patreon page, and we have the Patreons. We've got some people on Patreon. It's not very active, but we do have some people that have pledged money monthly, and we get a little money from them. So thank the Patreon subscribers. And if you want to be a part of that, just go to patreon.com/kissmycollectibles.
With a K, if you don't know.
With a K, that's right. But thank you guys for the support. We really appreciate it.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Kiss My Wax Remastered. Let's talk about the first album, guys. What do we know about the first album?
Well, it's funny that we're starting Kiss My Wax Remastered with this, because we started Kiss My Wax with this. And this was our first episode, so if you looked at it, it's very crude. There's not a whole lot of graphics. There's not a whole lot of things going on. So every year when we kind of talk about what we want to do, we always wanted to redo this one in particular, because there's so much more information that we could present. We know so much more. Our collections have grown. We have so much cooler stuff. It is the 45th anniversary of the first Kiss record, so what better time to talk about it than right now? So let's talk about this first Kiss record. There's a big point of contention what the actual release date is, whether it's February 8th or February 18th. There are several legal documents that have been floating around the internet for years that say the release date was actually February 8th. However, the band acknowledges February 18th as the actual release date. I mean, there wasn't really Google or anything back then, so it's real difficult to pinpoint when this actually came out. So what do you guys think about that? Do you even care about the release date?
Well, I'm not as a stickler on release dates. I do think it's important to have it right, but I don't think it's necessarily, some kind of critical thing where you have to get upset about it. As long as we're acknowledging I do understand that in the 70s release dates were different
Yes.
than what started happening in the mid to later 80s, where we started having the Tuesday release date, and now release dates are on Fridays.
Friday, yep.
And I understand that wasn't the case in the 70s.
And there were also East Coast and West Coast releases just based on what
could
plant
be.
that you used. So, it's really difficult, but what we can say with absolute certainty is that this record did come out in February of 1974.
That's good. Yeah.
So we can say that. And what's very cool about this record and what has been circulating for many, many years is a really cool radio spot of promoting the first record. And you can clearly tell that Neil Bogart took a lot of influence from the Casablanca movies, which that's what he named his label after, while doing this. Let's just take a quick listen to that because this is one of my favorite radio spots.
You must remember this, a kiss is just a kiss, but this one's something else, sweetheart. Kiss, baby.
She's looking good, and the lady knows it's understood.
Introducing the kiss that gets you, Angel. Kiss, a new group, a new album on Casablanca Records.
So this is the first Kiss record, and it's also the first record put out by Casablanca Records. At first, the Casablanca imprint was there, but it was also distributed by Warner Brothers Records. So aside from this album, I don't know of any other Casablanca artists that have the Warner Brothers emblem on there. So if you know, let us know.
Well, I mean, Kiss would be the first artist on the label, and I don't know, were there any other artists signed to Casablanca
I think
while they were still being distributed by Warner Brothers?
I think there were. I really do. I don't know. I mean, there's a great book that Larry Harris wrote, and Party Every Day. Maybe it's in there, but I've never
haven't read that.
I haven't read it, and I haven't really. My fan doesn't really kick in to that level yet.
Yeah.
But there might be. There really might be.
So before we get into looking at the records the collections that we have, when did this record enter your consciousness, right? Where in your fandom did it come in? Was it your first record? Was it where did this come in?
Ooh, that's a good question.
It's a good question, and it's hard to think back because I'm 43 now, and would have been very young in the late 70s. I do know that my first record was Destroyer, and I do know that I was 4 when I got it. So we're talking 79.
Sure.
I think within 1 to 2 years, so by 1982, I had all of the records that they had put out. So it would have come in that time period, but it is very, very difficult for me to pinpoint, did that record come in, in my collection second, or was it 15th? I just don't recall. It's a hard question to answer.
What about you, Andrew?
That's a hard question too, because this actually came into my collection on cassette, which I believe I still have the cassette. And I had gotten a bunch of cassettes. I think they were hand-me-downs from like a relative or a cousin or brother or something. But I got a bunch of them, and it was actually the 85 version. So the Nothing to Lose was the live version.
Right. Yeah, I remember getting that as well in the mid 80s. And
but what you need to understand, what we need to understand about a Kiss fan like me, who really came in after kind of all that stuff kind of happened, like all the stuff in the 70s where I wasn't keeping up with the band as it happened. I've always had to look back. So I think I maybe got this with a bunch of them, and it didn't really matter to me because at the time I was still listening to Double Platinum and I was listening to the live records.
Right.
And then very soon after that, it was bootlegs.
Right.
And I'll tell you something. This is the most important Kiss album, obviously, because it's the first. But they're still playing songs from this record. But I listen to it the least because I prefer the Eddie Kramer demos to the actual finished product on this record.
For me, this was the one that sort of launched everything. I was super young, and I know I got a later pressing because I have it here. It's one that has been with me through all sort of my vinyl collecting. One that I knew that, hey, this is arguably for me, only because it's a little hazy, the first record that I ever had ever, period, other than maybe like kids records, like 45s and storytelling kind of records. And so this was the first piece of Kiss memorabilia, merchandise, vinyl, anything that I ever had.
That's
really?
interesting. That's really interesting.
Yeah, and even though I was too young to really be aware of it when it came out, so it was a later pressing. But what I did over the years then, even though the copy's a little beat up, I took it and had it signed over the years by all the guys. So I've got the original 4.
So that is your first Kiss anything.
Yep.
Wow, man, that's incredible.
This is the one. This is the shape that it's still in. So it's not in perfect or mint shape, but
who cares?
Yeah, but it's in so much better shape than Jason's Destroyer record that he has.
Right.
At least you don't have Pac-Man stickers on yours. So.
Jason's Destroyed Destroyer.
That's right.
Destroyer, correct. What I think is interesting about the group that we have here is that all of us have that first Kiss record signed by everyone. And you showed yours.
Yeah,
so I took mine off the wall, but there's mine right there. And I even got Bill Aucoin to sign mine.
Gotcha. Is Bill Aucoin on the front there?
Yeah, he's right there under Gene's face. And I don't know what pressing this one would have been, because the vinyl that actually came inside this was lost many, many years ago, like maybe 20 years ago.
So here's a good question about these particular releases that we have here that are signed. Mine's the first album Promo signed. How long did it take each of you to complete the signature run?
Wow, a long time. And here's what I'm going to kind of show my my OCD and me being kind of Rain Man like. I remember the dates that I got every one of these signed.
That's crazy.
So Paul and Ace was January 9th, 2000 at the New York Custom Guitar Show, which we've talked about before.
Yeah, absolutely.
On the show, and I saw some stuff from that. Peter Criss was at the Audience with Peter Criss in January of 2003, right before they went over there for the symphony. Gene was at a Barnes & Noble book signing December 12th, 2002, right after Kiss and Makeup came out. No, excuse me, 2001, I'm sorry. December 12th, 2001 was that. Bill Aucoin was at the Philadelphia Kiss Convention the day after I got the Peter Criss signature. So that was also in 2003. So
pretty cool.
But yeah, I have pictures of them signing this. I have I used to have video footage of Ace signing it, but it was an old VHS-C tape, and unfortunately it is gone now. But yeah, all these autographs were obtained by me, which is super important to me. None of this was pre-signed. None of this was there. It's not in the best shape. I mean, if you look up here, this was folded because I think I carried it in a backpack with me to one of these signings. I didn't know.
Wow.
I was young. I was very, very
young. Yeah.
So, but it doesn't matter because this is it for me.
Yeah.
And you had Ace personalize it and nobody else. That's interesting.
Yeah, and it was funny. Paul, obviously, my meeting with Paul was very brief, but at the time, Ace was my favorite, so I was very nervous. I was like 14 when I met Ace, and I remember Monique was with him, and Monique was like, "Oh, she thought that I was one of the youngest kids at the time," because I said this on the show before. You remember when I was a young kid, right after the reunion era, there wasn't a whole lot of kids my age that liked the band how I liked it. I mean, now there's been this resurgence where you can go to Walmart and buy a Kiss t-shirt, so you have 12-year-olds liking Kiss now. That wasn't like that when I was growing up. It wasn't.
Sure.
But, so Monique asked me my name. Ace personalized it. He gave me a fist bump. There were no pictures allowed with Ace because his face was dripping off. But, it was very, very cool. So, Joe, do you remember when you got yours signed?
Yeah, I do. So I did when the meet and greets first started. I think, Andrew, you're going to correct me because you're the date Rain Man. But I think it was Rock the Nation, right?
Incorrect. It was World Domination Tour. 2003 with Aerosmith was the first time they offered the platinum tickets.
Interesting. So the first tour with Peter and Tommy Thayer.
Yes.
That's the one you're talking about?
That's the one, yeah.
It's so interesting. So I don't have the correct recollection then. In any event, it was one of the meet and greets early on where Peter was with the band. So I got the 3 originals to sign it. And then Ace did an appearance at the Hard Rock Cafe here in Detroit. And I had him sign it at the
2009?
Hard Rock Cafe. Yeah.
I was there because...
You were?
Yeah, I was there. And what I did is I ate at the restaurant that day so we would get a better spot in line.
Oh, interesting, yeah.
And Ace signed my miniature solo album CD poster. He was the first one to do that, so I'll show that on a later show, probably the solo album show. all my signatures on that one. But yeah, I was there too. It's funny. We were there and we didn't even know each other. What about
That's
you,
pretty
Jason?
crazy.
You probably have no idea.
Yeah, I do. I have a very
do?
good idea.
I'm surprised.
What's interesting with mine is I got my Paul Stanley autograph 21 years ago at the opening of Mars Music in Nashville.
Anyone who was ever a member of the Kiss Army, and John over here knows all the songs, will recognize the face even without the makeup.
That's what makes Kiss different than other bands, is that we have fans that last with us forever.
There was a news crew there shooting, and it just so happens that when he was signing my record, Channel 2 News, local news, was filming, and I went home and threw in a videotape, and when it aired that night, I have video of Paul signing my
Dude,
record.
send that to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
It's on my personal Facebook. So I have that. And then I didn't get any more signatures on this record because I didn't do meet and greets until this tour. I never did any other meet and greets as far as the whole band goes and stuff like that. I had met, several of the members different times, but I never brought this. All three of these other autographs were done in 2018. So I got Gene at the Vault. Wow. I got Ace in Indianapolis, and then Peter Criss was actually obtained for me. I sent this to our good friend Joe Odell, and he went and had it done in Toronto. Is that where Peter did?
No, it was actually in London, Ontario.
London, Ontario. He got this signed by Peter at London, Ontario for me. So that's how I completed it. So yeah, it took me 20 years to complete the signatures on this.
And apparently Peter Criss is doing an appearance in conjunction with the cruise.
Yes.
It's like $320 to go meet him,
right.
Which is not that bad, but I still think he's going to do more. So I'm not really. I mean, Peter is one of my favorite ones to meet. He's so sweet, and I don't have anything I even want him to sign at this point. I just want to meet him again, just because he's really
You
nice.
want to hear something?
Yeah, you've never met Peter.
Crazy?
I know that.
I've never met Peter.
I know because last year I was trying to get you to go down to go and do that. Okay, we've all shown our signed first LPs and talked about that, but let's talk about the personnel that had to do with this record. And I have to read my notes, and I also have to bring it close to my face because I'm blind.
That's great.
Because I just want to make sure that we got this. So this album was produced by Kenny Kerner and Richie Wise, who also produced Hotter Than Hell. I guess they were like the guys that were with Casablanca Records doing a lot of other producing. So it'd be interesting to see if they produced any other Casablanca artists. Recorded at Bell Sound Studios in New York City, October to December 1973. Engineered by Warren Dewey at Bell Sound Studios. Art direction was by Lock Art Photography. And then the actual cover was taken by Joel Brodsky. Joel Brodsky.
Way to go, man.
Sorry.
I'm just teasing.
and the other fact on there, it was originally issued without Kissin Time, which we'll talk about here as we start going through these records. All right, so before we get into the record, I want to talk about some goods. Let's talk about some merchandise that's relating to this record that came out. You probably won't be able to see it in the crop here, but there was a promotional poster that was issued to certain record stores, probably radio stations,
all sorts of things.
It never came in the record, so if there's anybody that tells you that this came in the record, they're lying, or they got really lucky and got one.
Right.
So,
However, record stores may have grabbed them, folded them up, and put them into early copies or whatever. However that works, because you hear these apocryphal stories all the time of, I went to the record store and I found this in the wild or a flea market and look what I found inside.
Yeah,
right. And it happens with Kiss Alive as well with the tour book because it's album size. The thing is, it's a 6-panel poster that folds down to album size. Or 8-panel poster that folds down to just slightly less than album size.
Poster.
It's thank you.
Panel. The 8-panel is the counterfeit.
That's right.
He's one of them. Yeah, one of them.
I knew I was right. So it's a 6-panel poster that folds down to where it's easily slipped inside of an album cover. So if you've got a promo copy of it at a radio station and the record and the poster was sent, it's easy to just slide it inside. And if you went to to see Kiss on the Dress to Kill tour, the Alive tour or whatever, and you brought a tour book, it's easy to come home and slip that inside your Kiss Alive album.
Yeah, it is. Because people didn't display their collections like we're doing now. 40 years later, no one knew. Right. Nobody knew.
And Jason, your signed copy kicks off the earliest, or one of the earliest versions of this record, right?
Correct. This is the white label promo.
Wow, white label promo. White label promo. So we'll talk about those pretty frequently. I mean, a lot of the original albums have these white label promos.
That's not true. Only 2 of the original albums have white label promos.
Well, the originals also has one.
Only the originals and only the first album have white label promos.
Yeah, and there's 3 records inside the originals, so that's a few.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying there's not a copy of Hotter Than Hell with a white label promo other than okay, all right, fair enough.
All right.
And on the white label itself, it does say promotion and not for sale.
That's
so
correct.
it's clearly marked on the white label, so you'll know that was a promotional issue of that, and I've got that here as well.
And obviously, this is a Warner Brothers distributed copy that does not have Kissin Time on the.
And the location of the sticker is important too with this release, because as this was the stickers were placed in this position as this original promotional copy was sent out to radio stations.
That's correct. So.
I don't have one of those. My earliest piece of vinyl for this release is the Warner Brothers without Kissin Time. Let me pull it out here. For those collecting, the catalog number on this one is NB9001. So if you have this one, this is the one without Kissin Time on it. And you probably can't see it here, but this is a super nice copy of this vinyl right here. Do you see that?
It looks good. It's reflecting nice.
It's very, very nice. And we typically are going to refer to these as Bogart or Blue Label number 1. And I just want to go into that just really, really quickly on this one. This is going to say Casablanca Records, manufactured and distributed by Warner Brothers. So there's one more. There's there's a couple different versions of the Blue Label that relate to this first record. But,
Joe probably has several to show that were. Oh, you have them too as well.
Yeah.
See, that's a a deficient part of my first album collection is I am missing many of the Blue Label copies. In fact, I don't even think I have a Blue Label copy of the first album. I have the white label promo, and then I think I skip all the way to Filmworks.
Jeez.
Interesting. So let's take a step back. So after the initial white label promo, then we have the Blue Label promo, which has a different location for the promotional sticker. So you'll see it there in a different spot on the record. So Jason, you want to talk a little? I think you know maybe a little bit more about that than I do. Why they were positioned that way, or I know that there's some speculation around why those.
I think it is speculation, but I think what's you got to understand with promotional copies is you only run so many copies where you have an actual promotional label, and once you run out of those, if there's still a demand for promotional copies, you've got to create promotional copies somehow, and what we surmise happened was they just took regular stock copies of the record, cut back the cellophane, and stuck on the pink label promotional stickers on the bottom right hand side, where you cut back the plastic, and that way the records can't be returned to the label for credit from the store or something like that. The stores are saying we need more promo copies, or you're doing an event and you're giving away the record or something like that, and you don't have white label promos. You've got to somehow denote that these are free copies that are being given out.
There's great pictures of when Kiss was appearing in conjunction with the Great Kiss Off.
Correct.
And they're just stacks of records, and they're signing these it's sickening to see that many records in one place at one time. Sickening.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Sickening.
So let's take one more step back and talk about promotional records and whether they were sealed or not. We know that we believe anyway, in many cases or most cases, that they weren't sealed, except for a copy like this that we were just talking about, where they had run out of promotional copies, white label copies, and that had already been distributed or sent out to radio stations or wherever they were sending them. So then they would tear off the cellophane like Jason was saying. So this kind of a version would have come shrink-wrapped as it was from the record label, supposedly.
Right, and you'll get a massive debate on, is that really considered a promotional copy? And you'll get the school of people that say, no, that is not a promotional copy because the label does not denote that it is a promotional copy. But those copies were given away for free, and they were marked so they could not be returned to the label.
Was there
And
any saw blading or BB holing in any of those?
as far as I know, on the first album, there wasn't. But is there, Joe?
I've not seen any like
I've
that
not
myself.
seen
I haven't
But
seen
please,
anything. I haven't seen
If
anything like that
anybody,
either. Yeah.
if anybody has any kind of
Right.
other promotional marking on these records, we'd love to hear in the comments
Yeah.
below for sure.
But the thing about sending pre-recorded music out to record stores or, in promotions or something like that, if you're giving that copy away for free and you're marking it so it can't be, so it's shown that it is given to you free, in a way, that's a promotional copy. It's just what it is. It may not say it on the label, but you got to call it something.
Sure.
And I call those promos.
Yeah.
Now, I know that's not a view shared by a lot of people these days, and in Kiss My Wax as well. That's not a view shared. But I come from working in record retail, and we got promos all the time that were not stamped promo. They were drilled. It was just a marked way of not being able to return those records for credit back to the label, and we called those promos, whether they were marked promo or not.
And you would assume that the record label was calling them a promo as well because they were damaging them in some way.
I don't even have to assume.
Right.
100% the labels call those promo copies. I know because I would call my label rep and say, hey, I need promo copies of these 15 records from your label for my store. And they would say, yeah, we'll send you promo copies. And they would take stock CDs because they didn't do as much. Now, Warner Brothers did a lot of, gold stamping and stuff like that. But most of the other labels would just drill their stock CDs and send them to the stores and call them promos. So
I've seen that several times before.
Yeah. Right.
I'm just looking to see if there's any promotional copies on there or anything like that. Because you guys are talking about, and I'm like, I wonder if I can get one.
And ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Andrew's perusing of eBay while we have our episode.
That's right. It's always fun to watch.
All right.
And you will find copies of this. I've seen many copies, and I'm sure Jason and Andrew, you guys have too.
Of course, yes.
Where you'll see the cellophane
Absolutely.
the shrink is still on the record, and you'll see that this hole either cut out or pulled back or something, and that sticker's then affixed in that.
Right.
So
debate that, folks.
Yeah, let's take one more step back and let's talk about the first appearance of Kiss on vinyl, a Warner Brothers compilation called Hard Goods. Now, I have two versions of this. I didn't bring them down. I'm sorry, I forgot. I totally forgot about them. I only remember because as I was scrolling through promotional copies, I saw a bunch there. But do you have
Hard Goods, Joe?
I do. Do you have it, Joe?
I know you have it, Andrew. Do you have it, Joe?
I don't know. I don't know.
You don't know, or you don't know?
I don't know.
Okay.
In any event, I'm not sure. I think, I think I do actually hold on one second.
All right. So talk about them, Andrew. Talk about them.
So Hard Goods was just basically a compilation put out by Warner Brothers Records with several other artists at the time. Now, I don't know if any of these are other Casablanca artists because, like I said, I don't even, I just saw it and I got it. See, look, Joe's got a copy.
Yeah.
Yep, here we go. This is what you're looking for here.
And who else is on it? Are those other Casablanca artists, or are they?
Yes.
They're Warner Brothers artists, right? The Warner Brothers.
Right, correct. Graham Central Station, Montrose, Dewey Brothers, Ted Nugent and Amboy Dukes, Foghat, Van Morrison. It goes on and on and on. So there you go.
And what Kiss cut is on Hard Goods?
Looking. Strutter. Side 3, first, the first cut on side 3 is Strutter.
Yeah. So that's a Warner Brothers promo, right?
Warner Brothers promo. Yes, sir.
That's right.
Correct. Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Okay.
And
Let's get.
let me show the label for that real quick.
Now there's two different labels on there. There's a label that is like that, and then there's also a label that has some palm trees on it as well. I have both.
I think this one does. For some reason, it's not out of the sleeve.
You got a mix matched one?
No. He's got a.
No, this is the second copy.
Oh, yeah.
So this is side side 4, but there is
There you go.
Move it. There you go.
There you go. Keep it
palm
centered.
tree sort of label.
Yeah, that's the one I always recognize from wooden Fleetwood Mac labels like that. I think
yes,
so.
You're correct.
Yes,
you're correct.
Yes,
Yeah.
I always Rumors. I always recognize that from label
great
from
record.
seeing a Rumors
Great
copy.
record.
So
All right, so let's get back on the first record. The next one that I want to show, also catalog number NB9001. It is Warner Brothers. It has Kissin Time on it, and it has this hype sticker on it as well.
All right. Do we know, Joe? You can probably help us stay in order here. If we're doing these in orders, where does that fall in after we're talking about the secondary promo
I
of the
believe
first
this
album?
is the next one, right?
Sure. I'm
is
not.
still Warner
I
Brothers.
don't know where that fits. I'm just not sure where that. My assumption would be that falls in a little bit later.
I think it falls in later.
It's
yeah.
still
Yeah.
Warner Brothers though, so after this, we're working from Warner Brothers, working into Casablanca
true.
proper. So this is still NB9001. So
Oh, it is.
It
It's
is
9001.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah,
NB9001.
9001. But my thought was, and I guess there's no way to know, right? But you would wonder if the hype sticker comes a little bit later, maybe. I don't know. It's an interesting. If anybody knows,
it can't though, because after this, the catalog number changes.
That's right. That's right. I think Andrew may be right here. I think that's probably where that. But who knows?
I
mean,
assumed
maybe,
it was the white label promo, and then we had the blue label promos, and then we had the NB9001 without Kissin Time,
Right.
NB9001 with Kissin Time, which is what this is.
I think that's probably right. If someone wants to comment and tell us we're wrong, that's great.
So the label on this one, well, if you wanna comment on this and tell us we're wrong, you're wrong. No, I'm kidding.
But don't forget, there are other pressings without different permutations of Kissin Time
Correct.
not being on the label, on vinyl, not on. There's different permutations of this. So I don't think that tells us that was the next one in line necessarily.
I'm going to tell you why it does in a little bit.
Okay.
Go
All
ahead
right.
now.
We'll discuss it. We'll discuss it.
I'm going to tell you why it does, because it has everything to do with the catalog number is what it has to do with. So again, NB9001, it's the same blue label as on the previous one that is without Kissin Time. You guys follow me so far?
All right. Yeah. Well, what are you talking about? Let's go.
So is this. So this is one that doesn't have Kissin Time either on the label or on the jacket. Still 9001.
Okay.
All right. Then I have a 9001 with Kissin Time on the label and not on the vinyl.
That's correct. Yeah.
All right.
I got that one here too.
And then I've got a Kissin Time on the label and the vinyl with.
See,
with
actually, I'm changing
sticker.
my. You're right. I'm changing my tune here. I think those two that Joe showed come before that one with the sticker. Is what I
because
think.
Kissin Time was added.
That's right.
Kissin Time was added later in the run, so that's why this would have come up. And then I also have another here with Kissin Time not on the label or the vinyl with no promo or hype. So to me, this clearly comes later because Kissin Time is on the label.
That's correct.
It is on the record and the label.
And all of those are 9001s.
They're all 9001s.
Okay, but this Kissin Time is on the record. This is no Kissin Time on the sleeve on this guy.
So that goes to show you that at some point during the run, and to me, there's no real way to tell it unless anybody knows definitively, historically, how this happened. At some point, they just started adding a hype sticker.
Right.
And I just think at this point in time, they were just grabbing whatever sleeve there was and trying to delineate.
That's probably true, but I think, now that I think about it, you have those copies that don't have the hype sticker on it, that don't have Kissin Time on it. They obviously have to come before that.
Right.
It clearly, obviously have to come before that, Andrew, because
Kissin Time has been added in some way to your copy.
Right.
And in these other copies, it hasn't been.
Right. So there's copies, on the blue label that do not have Kissin Time at all, and
Correct.
there's no hype sticker. Those have to come before the one with the hype sticker.
So then this next one I have, it is a 9001 Warner Brothers blue label. No Kissin Time on the sleeve. Kissin Time on the label. No Kissin Time on the actual wax.
Right. Even more bizarre.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So at some point, there must have been a press changeover right? Where they're making one and not the other, and they're just putting records into sleeves.
That's it. Yes.
And they're not matching up.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's weird how it's sort of added in over time. Like it's on the label and it's not on the sleeve. It's on, and so it's an interesting way that it's sort of this rollout happened.
Well, what we can agree on so far is that everything we've talked about thus far is NB9001. That's what we can surmise so far.
However, they all came, along. That's correct. These are all the Warner Brothers 9001s. That's right.
Sure.
All right, so
and you guys sort of knowing the background here on, do we know why Kissin Time was either left off, added on? Did that have to do with anything in Kiss history?
It had to do with Neil Bogart wanting a single on the radio. So Kissin Time, it was a single that I believe he had something to do with the previous artist. Was it a Bobby Rydell song? I believe.
Bobby Rydell, yeah.
And Neil,
Twist in Time.
Yeah, and Neil had something to do with that. So it was redone as Kissin Time later to give Kiss a single on the radio. Now, it was told to Kiss, and I believe this is in the Nothing to Lose book, it was told to Kiss that this was going to be for single purposes only, and it would never appear on the actual record because the band didn't like the song. This was just something as a promotional kick to coincide with the Great Kiss Off. Now, and they were told again, it wasn't supposed to be on the label. So, but Neil went and repressed the record without the band knowing. And the band was very unhappy with this at the time. So maybe that's why we have a lot of these variations, because they were saying, okay, well, hey, this is here and this is there and whatever. But,
well, you have those variations too, because you've got stacks of labels that are already printed.
Yes.
Yep.
And you've got stacks of covers, new covers that are being printed.
Yes.
And all of this is not gelling at the same time. And instead of, if you've got these stacks of labels, thousands of labels, and
there's no quality control in Casablanca Records.
Right. And
you may not want to waste all that material either.
That's it. You don't want to waste material, so you use that material up, and so you get all of these bizarre different variations of the record being pressed.
And you're right, Andrew. Nobody is standing next to the press going, wait a minute, that label isn't that. It's just
not at all.
It's a spindle of labels and vinyl and sleeves, and it's just being all put together without any sort of, wait a minute, this isn't working out.
Yeah, no one cared about Kiss. Warner Brothers didn't care about Kiss.
It's not even just that. It's just
it would have happened on a Donna Summer record.
But what I'm saying,
happened on anybody.
But what I'm saying is that they didn't care about Kiss. They go, we need more Kiss records, and they go, okay, well, we got this, and this. And they go, we don't care. Just give us more Kiss records.
It would have been the same with anybody because when you have material, if you've got 10,000 stickers left over, you don't go out and print 10,000 more just because you want to make sure the sticker's right. That happens all the time.
I don't disagree.
In press and play.
All right, so then we get into the change where the Warner emblem and everything Warner Brothers is removed, and we have a label change, and then we have a catalog number change. So the catalog number now for these is NBLP 7001. These are going to be our blue label version 2. What you can tell between a blue version label 2 is this will just say manufactured and distributed by Casablanca Records, made in the USA. It will have no address on it. So there that is right there.
Very nice. Very nice. And then, of course, there's all sorts of different variations of those, isn't there, of where the logos are printed and stuff?
Yeah, there's above and beyond. There's above and below and all that. I don't really get into that. I just get into if there's an actual label variation. So, Joe, what do you?
Sure.
Yeah. What do you?
Yeah, but if you're looking at those variations, for sure, those are important to people.
Yes.
So yes, I'm just looking through what I have here. So yeah, I have one that's below the spindle. So here's that version.
No, that's a different.
Oh,
label.
sorry, no, we're talking about blue, right? Yeah. We're talking about blue, not into the Filmworks yet. Yeah, so I don't have anything else on the blue label.
Do you have anything else on the blue label, Jason?
No, I don't.
Okay, I do. I have I have a.
Yeah, you were saying that's a hole in your collection, right, Jason? And obviously
the blue labels are massive holes in my collection.
Yeah.
I used to have, before I sold my collection off, 20 years ago. I had all the ones that Andrew showed. I had, and when I sold them, the only one I kept was the white label promo. I didn't keep anything else, and even though I've been heavy back into collecting for the last decade, I have not secured those copies.
These are not difficult to find.
No, I know they're not.
You just gotta know what you're looking for.
I have almost 500 pieces of Kiss vinyl, and I'm missing. Those are massive holes.
Hold
in my
on,
collection.
you don't have 500 pieces of Kiss vinyl because 100 pieces of those Kiss vinyl is just the different versions of Anomaly that you have multiple versions. Same record, multiple copies of.
Right. Right. Yeah, but it's the same for me because these are a little bit more common. I've talked about the way that I collect, and I have the sickness of having to go for things that are rarer and harder to find.
Right.
Yeah, you can go out and find copies of these all day long, but for me, it's just not something that I'll think, oh, I need to go out and find some Blue Label too, or whatever.
So this one,
And Andrew, I did not say 500 different copies of Kiss vinyl. I said I have close to 500 pieces of Kiss vinyl or Kiss-related vinyl, and that's a lot of records to have to be missing those common or more. They're not common, but they're more common variations.
When you finally unpack your stuff, you let me know, and then I'll take you seriously.
Okay, fair enough. All
right. So
and we were also talking too about just the volume of Kiss vinyl that's come out over the years.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Jason and I, you and I both have pretty big collections of Kiss vinyl, and Andrew, I know you have a bunch as well.
Yeah, I have about 200.
Yeah, so and when you have, it sounds like to somebody who didn't know any better, why would you have 200 pieces of Kiss, on and on? But when you start to get into it, it's just incredible how much vinyl is out there and how much, even though we might have, Jason, between us maybe 20, or between all of us maybe 23, 25 different copies of this, it still pales in comparison as to what's out there.
Yeah.
That's right.
So back on track, the next one I have, same catalog number, NBLP 7001, Blue Label version 3. This is my first appearance of an actual Casablanca sleeve. And so this Blue Label has the actual address of Casablanca Records.
Okay.
So if you can see that there, there it is. The label, the justification's a little bit different on there than the previous one. But again, you could tell the Blue Label version 3 by the different catalog number, NBLP 7001, and the address on the actual label.
Gets added in there, yeah.
Perfecto.
So yes. And when we first started doing the show together and we were first starting to really get into vinyl collecting heavily, I made sure to sort these out because I just wanted all the Blue Labels for the first album.
I do too. And I think that's a great collection to have, and I definitely want them too. Yeah. So I definitely want to.
Maybe you got to look on eBay as we're talking amongst ourselves. Let the adults talk, Jason, and you can go and on eBay. Okay, so the next one that I have here, which I hope you guys have because I don't have, we have a full-on label change. Where it goes to the Casablanca tan labels, where we call them the camel
labels.
The camel labels. So
one of the harder ones to find,
which I don't have in my collection. I think that the
camel. Have a camel?
I think the camel might have been the record that I got signed.
Oh yeah, no, the camel historically, came out during the rock and roll over period, and of course you have a lot of rock and roll overs. But when you go back, the press run was so limited in the time period when they used the camel label. I think it was less than a year.
Holy shit!
Do you have it?
So look at this. I take the back off my signed one.
And the record's there. Son of a bitch!
And
it's the camel label.
That is great.
That is great, Andrew. Good job, man. That was awesome. Well, sir, that is one of the harder ones to find. If my recollection is correct, I only think the camel label was used for about 8 months.
Because it was. And we'll talk about this a little later on. I don't think there's a camel of Love Gun. I only think there's a camel.
There's not.
The only camel release that was new was Rock and Roll Over.
Right. And then so you switched to the the custom label with Love Gun after that, and then moved into the Filmworks label. Yeah. But they did do pressing runs of those early albums on camel labels.
Yes.
But because the pressing run was so short, it's probably the most difficult of those labels to find.
I have a bunch of them.
Outside of the white label promo.
Look at that, though. I mean,
that's great. Andrew.
I had
Good
no idea that
That's great.
I need to get a sleeve that's not signed to put this in. So
there
I can easily get that. So next, after we go to the, we move past the
camel label.
We move into the Filmworks label, and I believe we all have this one, correct?
Joe, do you have Filmworks?
Yes, I do. Yeah, and these get to be very common.
Super common.
Yeah, of course, by the time the Filmworks label was being used in the late 70s, 77, 78, Kiss was off the charts and they were pressing records left and right.
But let's also make sure that that even though that these labels are changing, the catalog number is still NBLP 7001.
Right. These are considered Filmworks label 1s, correct?
Filmworks label 1, yes, because Filmworks label 2 are 2014 releases. Oh no, I misspoke.
No.
I misspoke.
Yes.
Filmworks labels would be those 2014s would be Filmworks labels 4.
Yeah, two is the 83, 82, 83, or 83, 84, whatever the run is, and then 85 would be Filmworks level 3.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
That's a good segue because I don't have the. I'm not sure which one.
I think Joe has.
I have Filmworks label 1s, and I have Filmworks label 3.
That's what
So
I'm
we're missing the 83, 84.
Yes.
I'm missing an 83, 84 on that. Yeah.
So this is an 85. This is an 85, and I can tell that this is an 85 because there is a UPC on the back.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So you had a pressing run in, was it 82, 83, or 83, 84? I'm getting my mind.
Which one are you talking about?
We're talking about Filmworks 2.
Filmworks 2. Is it 82?
That'd have been 83, 84.
Okay, 83, 84. We had a pressing run there. Where the band is it's moved over to Polygram, and you've kind of got these washed out looking labels, but the easier way to tell those is you have a Polygram label, which is a Filmworks label 2, and the covers do not have printed barcodes on them.
Correct.
Some of them you'll find a barcode sticker.
Correct.
Some of them, the barcode sticker might have been on the cellophane and is gone now, as far as I understand it. But you won't have a printed barcode on those 83, 84 runs.
Correct.
So
this one I have is an 85, and it
Correct.
has a printed barcode.
Right. Now, Filmworks label 3.
I've got the same one there, yeah.
A printed barcode.
So
those are a little bit tougher to find. The 83, 84s are a little bit tougher to find because
they are.
Because it's very hard to surmise what it actually is because of the inconsistency of the barcode sticker, whether it's in or out of the cellophane. And when you stick them next to an 85, it's clear to tell that the labels are washed out, but it's really difficult to find those.
Right. So, all right. So next in line for the first album domestically is the 2014s. Is that correct?
Yes, 2014s, which would be considered our Blue Label version 4.
Is that right? Good answer. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
180 gram vinyl, Blue Label version 4.
Okay, good. You pulled yours out, so I won't mess with mine. So obviously this, did reissued the entire catalog in 2014. Universal did, and on 180 gram vinyl. And they are beautifully redone versions, pressings of the record, pressed at QRP, high quality. They're specifically mastered for vinyl. I love the 2014 pressings. I love the way they sound.
Me too.
I love the way they look. I love the way they feel.
If you remember, when we first started doing Kiss My Wax, I didn't have any of them, and then I started purchasing them, and I was blown away because when we first started, I didn't have a turntable. So now that I have a turntable, the 2014s are the one that I always listen to, and I'm still missing some of the 80s ones. So I got to get those. I know a lot of them are out of print. They're becoming a little difficult to get, but I gotta fill in some of those gaps.
Yeah, at this point in time, as we record this, I know for a fact that Paul and Peter's solo albums are out of print. From the 2014s, I know that Revenge is out of print.
Is Animalize out of print?
Animalize is out of print.
Revenge? Did you say Revenge?
Revenge, Hot in the Shade, I'm pretty sure is out of print. And I think that's where we stand. I have to, check with my database people, but I think that's all that's out of print at this point in time. I do know that we with my company, just did a reorder on some of the 2014s, and we were waiting about 3 months for them to come in, but some Rock and Roll Overs just came back in, so that means they just did another run of Rock and Roll Overs. So they're still keeping some of these in print 5 years after they came out and doing runs of them from the same plates.
Of course, I'm missing a lot of the out of print ones. I'm missing Animalize Asylum, Crazy Nights, Hot in the Shade, Alive 3, and the Millennium Concert, or the 2014s I'm missing.
I think a couple of those are out of print, but I think some of them are still available. So
what's interesting to me too with the 2014s, especially with the records that had premiums in them, like Rock and Roll Over or Dynasty, that they're still, to my knowledge, they're still putting that stuff in those records.
As far as I know, that stuff is still in the records, and I think it's because they had a massive overstock of those things, and that they knew that they purposely overran all of those inserts because they knew that they were going to press, because it's cheap to print them, but they knew that, they were going to press 5,000 copies of this, and when they ran out, they would press 5,000 copies more or 2,000 copies more, and they would have that stock to replenish those records.
So it'll be interesting from a collector's standpoint if let's say Rock and Roll Over continues to sell as a record, but they've run out of the inserts. Will they continue? What will they do? Because that's what happened. That's what happened in the 70s, right? So it'll be interesting to see what, in the 70s they stopped putting premiums in them right through the transitional periods of these different records. So you wonder, even though it's all owned by the same company and still rolling along, if they're, the stickers or the tattoos or whatever run out of these records, will they continue to put them in them? Will they make that commitment, or will they just kill the line, or what will they do?
It's a good question. Who knows?
So what's left? What's left domestically? We just got one more left domestically. The 45th anniversary, colored vinyl swirl, whatever you want.
Comes with this sticker right here. It was supposed to be like a smoke, like a white and black swirl.
Looks like someone just has like black snot on it.
Nope. Yeah. So one of my copies looks like this. They are reusing the 2014 labels. So these are the 2014, Blue Label 4s that are being reissued or reused. The jackets so far they've reissued Destroyer on color vinyl, Rock and Roll Over on color vinyl, the first album on color vinyl, and they did the solo album box sets. We'll talk about those when we get to those records.
Yes.
But so far, all but the solo albums have been reusing the 2014 covers, and they've been putting these UPC limited edition barcode stickers on the cellophane, and that's how you're able to differentiate in warehouses and stuff between a 2014 issue of this and a 2019 issue of this and Destroyer and all of those. There was an issue with the pressing of this. The QC at the pressing plant was not very good. You're not getting very
reminiscent of Casablanca in the 70s.
Right. You're not getting very good swirl. And, some people are okay with it. Some people are not okay with it.
It doesn't look good at all.
It doesn't look great, but it really doesn't bother me all of that much. So,
it's caused a huge stir, and Jason, you and I have talked a little bit about this. For me, it's not. Look, it doesn't look the same as the artist rendering for sure. And if the records come through as only white and there's no black swirl in them at all, then I think that's Look, the quality control wasn't the greatest, but for me, it's not. It's not a huge issue.
Nothing looks better than this.
I don't know, man. If this would have been a beautiful swirl like it was the artist rendition, I think it would have been probably the most beautiful colored vinyl in the Kiss catalog. There's not a lot right now, but Destroyer was beautiful.
Rock and Roll Over is beautiful. I own
Orange
that one.
was beautiful.
The orange was great, yeah.
And then we started having issues with the solo albums, which have new covers. But you got two of them that are marbled and two of them that are not, and occasionally you see one that's kind of marbled but not. So we've got two releases in a row from Universal that have had issues with.
Man, someone's got to take it over. Someone's got to take it over.
I don't know. So, all right. So let's move out and let's talk about what each of us. I know Andrew doesn't have any overseas stuff.
I don't have anything of this record.
Okay. So let me and Joe talk about a few things that we may have.
Yes.
What do you want to talk about, Joe?
Well, it's interesting. The only foreign pressing of this that I have is a Japanese Camel label from '76. So it's the code is VIP 6326, and there's a look at the
OB.
The OB there.
Yep.
Yeah, so
all these Japanese variations you can find out in the great Kissin Japan book by our great friend
That's
Alan
right.
Belisha. It is out of print, so you will have to go on the secondary market to get that, but Alan goes over all the different variations of the Japanese vinyl, whereas the crazy collections, promotional copies, so check out that book if you can. I love Japanese vinyl. I do have other Japanese titles in my collection, just not this one.
you almost always find it in great condition because those collectors they're great and they take care of their collections.
You know, Joe, I'm actually surprised that you don't have the Japanese box set that came out towards the reunion era.
He does. We both do.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm going to be showing it. He didn't want to open his up because
okay.
it's pretty hermetically sealed.
Yeah, I mean the thing is dead mint. Honestly, I don't even know if it's ever been opened ever. I think I've talked about it in a previous episode, but it actually had the carton wrapper that came with it, the Japanese carton wrapper. The thing's in perfect condition, so I'm not big on cracking into that thing to grab the stuff, but I have it. Yeah. So.
Okay.
So here's my Japanese copy on Blue Label, and man, I wish you could see this in person.
It looks beautiful.
I don't think it's ever been played.
Yeah.
I just don't. It's just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful piece. I think my my obi is a little washed out. Probably sat in the sun a little bit.
The rising sun at that?
The rising. Oh man. Pardon me while I get this back in the sleeve properly.
He's just jamming garbage, and poor Jason. Poor Jason.
But yeah, I'll show it here in a second.
And do you have it has the lyric insert as well, Jason?
Yes, I have the lyric insert. I'll pull that out here.
It was in mine as well, so I can show that.
Yeah. So
there's that. So you've got the lyrics. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah,
it's
my
a gatefold sort of a deal here.
Super cool.
See that?
I think my obi is a little washed out, like here on the edge a little bit, but still a beautiful copy. And I need to continue to search out because there's so many pieces of Japanese vinyl that I don't have. I don't have that Camel label. I'm pretty sure there's a Filmworks label version. Is there of the first album?
We'll have to check.
Unsure. Yeah.
So, all right. Is that the only international copy of this record you have, Joe?
That is, surprisingly. Yeah, that's it.
I've got a few here to show then.
Okay.
So I've got a, let me pull this out here. I've got a UK copy. Pretty flimsy cover. But yeah, EMI Records, see if we can see some of the printing there on it.
Yep.
Is that in
That's
focus
very
at all?
cool. Yeah, I see that.
Yep. What year is that, Jason? Is there a year?
I don't know what year this came out. I don't. But it is a promotional copy.
Oh, great.
Very cool.
And it is in mint condition as well on a blue label. I think that I don't want to misspeak here, but I don't know when the first album came out in the UK, but I'm pretty sure it was, in the mid 70s. Would that probably be correct?
I would assume, yeah. If we were taking an educated guess at it, for sure. Yeah.
Right. So I don't know, but I hate misspeaking about that. What else do I have here? So I'll go ahead and show this. This is from the Japanese box set that came out in the 90s. It's dead mint. But what's cool about
this? Purple?
That's where we're going. I'm gonna take it out of this. I'm gonna leave it in this.
Yeah, just leave it in there. Purple vinyl. Very nice.
Purple vinyl with the cool label.
That's a collection I would still get. If I saw it at a decent price, I would still pick that up.
Yeah, show your copy of the box, Jeff.
Yeah, so here's the box set, just so you know what we're talking about.
Yep.
There's that guy there.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just see
Yep.
You can just see how nice it's just in dead mint condition.
My contents are in great shape, but my sleeve that Joe just showed is a little tattered, so I'm okay with opening it up and taking my box out. So we got the early 80s German censored logos, West German censored logo versions of this.
Belaphon?
Belaphon. I think I'm going to pull these out because I think I have two copies of this.
You don't keep your records outside of your sleeves like this? Like I take
some I do.
all of my records are like that.
Yeah, like this, but some I do, but not all. But I have two copies of this, so I need to trade it off.
Oh, you should just give it to me.
Oh yeah, I should just give you everything that I have doubles of, right?
Listen, if I had a double of something and you wanted it, I would give it to you.
We'll talk.
Do you need an Ace, Peter, or Gene Spin magazine? Because if you do, I will just give that to you. I have doubles.
I don't need it. I don't need it. No.
If you need it, I give. I give.
You're a good guy.
He's a giver, apparently.
I give.
And then to go along with that, I have the 2014 German altered logo version. I have not opened this.
I could tell because you can't even see it because of the glare. Because of the cellophane on there.
Yeah. So 2014 German issue. These came with a download card voucher thing on the inside of it. The European versions, and I don't have I did not go out and buy the 2014 reissues European versions. I only bought the German versions. Mm-hmm. But for those that are collecting, there's definitely a whole entire EU line out there of the catalog. What's great about these German 2014 reissues that were not done in the early 80s German reissues is when you have certain inserts, like the Dynasty poster that has the logo on it and stuff like that, they altered the logo on everything. The early 80s German reissues didn't have any inserts. Right. If there's logos on the labels, I don't believe they're altered, but on the cover they're altered. Mm-hmm. But on the 2014s, they altered all the logos everywhere, so they look really, really, really cool.
It's really cool to see. Now, the European versions of those, right, Jason? They had the regular KISS logo, and they also had a download card, which is a way to tell the difference between that version and a German version, where the U.S. versions did not have a download voucher card.
That is correct. And then I just have one more to show, and it's the Netherlands picture disc.
Those are great.
That's a bootleg, right?
Great.
Oh no.
No, that's not a bootleg one. That's a real one.
Oh, this is real. It is numbered and everything. I don't have any of the bootleg picture discs. All of mine are, there's a run of these. They released, I don't know, 10 or 12 of these somewhere.
Somewhere in that range. Yeah.
Somewhere in that range, and what you've got is, if they're numbered, and they're numbered in different ways, but if they're numbered down here, you've got a real deal. There are official versions, overruns that are not numbered, and then there are counterfeits that are not numbered as well. And the way you can tell the difference is how the
dead wax etching.
The dead wax etching. In most cases, if it's hand etched and it's not numbered, it's going to be a counterfeit. In most cases.
Yeah. So, otherwise, there's a machine etched dead wax version that is
correct, legit. And sometimes they're very difficult to see. So, but very cool versions to search out. If you can find them.
And it's an expensive group.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it
is. As a whole. Especially getting the Rock and Roll Over and the Dynasty, those things are $300+ a piece. Anytime you see them, they're very, very expensive. So, but that's all I have. There are obviously hundreds of other variants of the first album.
So tell us what you have in the comments, or send us a video, or post some pictures. Just show us what you got. That's what we have. But the purpose of doing this is we want to get you guys involved. Show us what you got.
All right. So before we end the episode, let's ask each other. So of the first album, is there anything that you want to add to your collection that you're particularly looking for?
It was the Camel label, but I found that I had it, and I can't believe that.
Andrew just dreams and it appears.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Can you dream that my office is clean and it'll just happen?
No, because what's going to happen with that is I'm going to come down there and it's probably going to end our friendship because I'm going to be cursing at you the entire time.
Yeah, we're gonna need the Joe and Andrew crew is gonna have to come in and order
Dude,
all this stuff up.
You know,
that's
I
its
think-
own episode.
I think that I would probably clean this if I had somebody down here with me hanging out that cared. My wife won't come down here and hang out with me. It's just tough for me to just go, all right, I'm going to straighten all this crap up myself. You know, when I used to redo.
I enjoy that.
Yeah, I know. But when I used to redo my Kiss room when I was, you know, a younger kid and lived at home with my parents, my neighbor across the street would come over and help me rearrange my posters and stuff. And it was kind of like an event. But now I'm old and I would rather sit upstairs with my family than be stuck down here in the basement arranging Kiss stuff.
So Joe, what do you want as far as Kiss font as Kiss?
Yeah, you know, there's nothing really that I'm dying to have. I mean, any of the foreign releases. I mean, I just would keep collecting it in general. You know, I really think the German copies, the 2014 German copies of all these records are really cool because of the detail that they put into and the attention that they put into changing all those logos over. So that's something in general that I'd like to get after. I have maybe a couple of those, but yeah, it's something that I need to.
What about you, Jason?
Well, for me, you know, I talked about it earlier in the episode. I want to get as complete as possible, just like you guys have, and especially you have, Andrew, of all of the Blue Label variants from from the Warner Brothers issues. I really want to have those again, and it's something that I definitely need to seek out. So, and put some money into and purchase. But yeah, also in the comments, tell us what you're looking for as far as your collection of the first album. You know, we want this to be a viewer interactive kind of thing.
Yeah.
So.
And when did it enter into your consciousness as well? When did what was it in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s? At what point did you get this record? What format did you have it on? So that's all stuff that's great to talk about as well.
Lots of homework, you know. So definitely make sure you comment down below. So. What do you think, guys?
That's
Kiss
it.
My Wax Remastered.
Kiss My Wax Remastered.
Episode 1. Cool. It's fun. It's fun. We'll keep rolling along with these.
Yeah, we'll keep rolling. All right, guys. If that is all, we will see you on the next one.